Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, April 9th, 2020, and I hope you're surviving well. I want to have a caveat here, right out of the gate. If you don't like saucy language, you might encounter some here. This might not be the video for you. I don't plan on dropping bombs, but you never know. Second, in my life, I think it's a good idea to take what works for you and leave what doesn't. So if I say something with which you don't agree, but other stuff works for you, take that and leave with which you don't agree. I welcome your comment in the comments section to try and maybe lead me into a different way of thinking nicely with facts and data and science. But engaging in useless political banter, I'm not interested in that, and it's not going to get us any further out of this mess or keep us any safer. And that's my goal. Third thing, I am not truly a know-it-all. I do not know it all. Some people who are watching this know more than me about a subject. Please chime in. Please drop the info with sources. Hey, I like to read scientific journals. I like to read boring things. Hey, I went to law school for a reason. I can sit there and drill down on statutes. I can read boring stuff, okay? So if I'm wrong, please correct me, and I'll be more than happy to say, you know what, I was wrong about that. That brings me to the next subject. Survivors are resilient. Part of being resilient is being able to change your mind, change your focus, change your tactics, and changing your opinions, okay? I do it all the time. I'm not a know-it-all. I think that, and you won't see that in the comment section here, but a few of my relations have been tweaked off at me because I think that they feel like these videos are sort of, how would I put it? Not preachy, but acting like I know something before they knew it, even though I told them anyway. And since I was the messenger of this bad harbinging news about the virus, that now I'm kind of, they want to kill the messenger. And that is really old, folks. If you're having fear and you're having distress and anxiety and worry, shooting the messenger ain't going to do a damn bit of good than to let the next message pass you by because you've gone ahead and shot the messenger. So having said that, I have no use for you. If you want to shoot me and feel like she told me that, I don't go nanny, nanny, nanny to your faces. So why don't poke the bear? You know, if I warned you back in February, if I called your butt and warned you and told you what was going on and gave you reasons why, and you called me hysterical, and now you're regretting that, instead of calling and saying, Theolyn, you were right, I'm sorry. I don't even ask you for that. I do ask you not to be nasty to me. So that's all out of the way. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way and let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. And that elephant that's in the room is this virus. The virus is it's in the room, literally and figuratively. Hopefully in my room, it is figuratively. Let me say what I saw today. It was very distressing. I haven't left the house since the last time I got my medications, guys. I left the house today. My medications could be picked up through the drive-thru. So, I go prepared. I have my search and rescue gear on just because it's an easy thing to get on, to get off. I layered up. I had my marine hat on. I had on sunglasses. I had on protective masks that I had purchased for the job I was doing before this stuff started. Don't have a lot of them, so I'm not hoarding. And gloves. I sit in said drive-thru because that is allegedly the method we are supposed to be picking up our medications. Note that. I'm third in line at the drive-thru. The car in front of me has no masks. The guy's wearing, and his passenger. By the way, why would you need a passenger unless you're doing multiple errands? But okay. Maybe the passenger was one picking up the meds. Don't know. The guy has no mask, no gloves. Because we're sitting here. We have plenty plenty of time to observe each other in the drive-thru because it is slow. No problems here. No arguments here. No problems. I don't have any issue with it being slow. It's a pandemic. Person behind me, same thing. No mask, no gloves. You might say, Thielen, they obviously just couldn't afford it or they didn't have it. There's not one damn thing. They got a t-shirt in their closet. They can make one. At this point, you have to be resilient. You have to be smart and you have to be resilient. So I didn't see this. So I thought, calm down, right? Calm her down. These are people in the drive-thru. They're just going to access. They're going to roll their car window down. They're going to get whatever their med is and they're going to leave. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Okay, all right. So if my turn comes up, I'm fully suited up, gear on, roll down the window. Through the speaker, asks me the preliminary questions about my med. I bark out it all, And she says, slip your information under the cardboard clipboard. Then I look at the clipboard and I think to myself, you know how long that virus is going to sit on this cardboard clipboard? And how many people all day long are touching the cardboard clipboard, putting money, putting their driver's license, putting their ID cards, putting their credit cards under the cardboard clipboard. But I have on gloves, so I'm okay. Slide credit card and ID under clipboard. This is okay. Here we go. I look inside. Mind you, I've got a good 20 minutes to sit here and watch the doings. I see a pharmacist. She's got on a face mask and she's got on gloves. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I'm watching her deal with the public that are inside. Now, mind you, we're supposed to be going through the drive-thrus. People are inside. From where I am to where the camera is now, 2.5 feet across the counter, I see 2 different transactions where the public, no mask and no gloves, are excitingly talking to said pharmacist who is in her PPE. And she's being kind to them. You can tell by the smiling and like she's trying to help them with things. If they are infected, they are blowing their aerosolized droplets towards her face onto the counter. Are they infected? Who knows? A pharmacy is where you go. If you're not going to the hospital, it's where you go to pick up your drugs. All right? A lot of people who are going inside the pharmacy could be sick with a whole make and manner of things. In this time, every human being that is out scooting about in the world that aren't in their house and in their yard need to have on gloves and they need to have on a mask. And this is what I said from my first video on this. When counter to what the WHO was saying, and counter to what the CDC was saying, and counter to what our public officials was saying, and I gave you the reasons why, and I told you logically, logic would dictate why they're lying to us. Still to this day, knowing what we know, patients are coming in unmasked, ungloved. All right, so I'm watching her. She isn't going to be dealing with me, but I'm watching her. My angst is rising inside, but I watch. The person who comes to deal with me and give me my medication and to retrieve my ID and my driver's license from under the said dirty ass clipboard made of cardboard has no mask and no gloves. Not even a homemade one. No. The transaction goes on as normal. I pick up my things with my gloves. I don't touch anything. It goes right into a bag I brought for the purpose, a plastic bag, along with my meds, into the bag, strip off the gloves, tie it off, toss it into the back seat. Because it, for all intents and purposes, is good and well contaminated. All right? So now I know my hands, generally to here, are probably okay. I've got a small thing of disinfectant left over from my days at the work that I was doing, and I scoot up good enough so the next person can pull up, and I do my whole hands, right? Oh my gosh. Take off my mask and my actually had 2 masks on because one didn't, I've got a weirdly shaped face. It doesn't really, I got a nose that's strange and crooked, and sometimes it just doesn't fit wet. So I took the 2 masks on. I took my marine hat off, and I threw it up to the front because it's usually probably not going to be as contaminated as what's in that darn bag. It's not going to get touched for a month now. Easy. That's fine. Oh God. I know. And this is kind of ranty, but I'm just going to keep plowing through it. I pull up. I get all my stuff straight. I disinfect myself. I try to think of what I've touched. You know, I didn't touch the steering wheel. I'm like, okay, we're cool. We're cool. We're cool. I proceed to drive out. Now, this Walgreens is next to a Social Security office. Thank the Lord they are shut down, because on any given day, there are hundreds of people outside it queued. For some reason, that's just the way it is. I guess people maybe like to come and pick up their checks. Maybe they have issues and they like to come in person. But there's a bus stop there. And when I had pulled into the Walgreens, I saw 2 people at the bus stop sitting together. They didn't seem like a family. You could just kind of tell. Just eating out of a bag of chips and ho-hoing it up and just having a good old, living their best lives. God bless them. I saw a customer leaving the pharmacy because I had to go back around through the parking lot to get back to the street where I came because I didn't want to go on the main road. Again, walking on foot with her bag from inside the Walgreens. No gloves, no mask. So in total, you know who I saw in my whole entire drive from house to back? 1 pharmacist with gloves and a mask, and not 1 human soul on my whole drive outside were wearing either a mask or gloves. Now you might say, oh gosh, you're being just such a hysteric. You know what I saw? I saw Debbie Do-Gooder on one of the main streets, not in a neighborhood, picking up trash. Debbie Do-Gooder, on a normal day and not in a pandemic, picking up trash is a noble act. People are pigs for throwing out their trash in a non-pandemic. In a pandemic, throwing your dirty, possibly COVID-ridden trash is a crime. And Debbie Do-Gooder is out there picking up the trash and taking the possibly contaminated COVID back to her house or to a dumpster bin that what she's going to lift up, and then I can't. I saw so many people outside. To pull out of my neighborhood onto our street takes about sometimes 5 to 10 minutes on a normal day. And that's how long it took me to get out of my neighborhood today. You would not have thought that there was a pandemic. Because I hear these tales of the streets being, it's easy to get to work and all this stuff. Oh, no. Everybody was out there today on April 9th, 2020 in Orlando, Florida, living their best lives. Running. Okay, there's nothing wrong with running, you guys. I'm not digging that all of a sudden my couch potato friends have all decided they're going to run triathlons down a community sidewalk, because what you're doing, and I know some people are going to get butthurt about this, and maybe order some butthurt salve on Amazon and have it delivered to your door, because obviously you're going to have to do something about it, because when you're running on a sidewalk that's 3-4 feet wide, and that traffic all day long, people are walking down that sidewalk and you're running, you're expelling molecules. You're breathing in the air and you're expelling the air that came out of your lungs. And then they say, oh, they were 6 feet apart. Then someone coming right behind you walking is breathing in that same air that you just expelled out of your body, quite vociferously, mind you. This I saw. This hand to God, I saw in the midst of a pandemic where we are in a hot spot. Look, I'm not coming to you from, I don't even know what state's not blowing up, but I'm in a hot spot area and people are acting as if there is nothing going on. And I guess you want to say, who can you blame? You can blame our officials for not properly explaining to people how science works. And then you stop and to ask yourself, are your officials scientists anymore? And if the answer is no, you need to have a whole entire restructuring of your system. You cannot wish this virus away. Hopes and dreams and thoughts and prayers are not going to make this virus go away. You have to be smart. You have to be resilient. You might not like staying at home. You can exercise in your own homes. You can exercise in your own yard. You can exercise in your balcony. You can get fresh air without running down the damn road in a very populated area. That, my friends, is unwise. And I know I sound like an asshole, so you know what? I get it. If you want to dislike me because of this, go ahead. Let me read you something. I'm going to read you facts. I'm going to spit some facts at you instead of spitting my opinions. There's an article called the Lancet, and they talk a lot about science. You know, you guys, some Americans don't give a rat's behind about science, and some do. So I'm going to read this, and I'm going to use the Fair Use Act by giving you commentary on this article. I'm not going to read it in complete full and not give you commentary. I'm going to break it down for you. And it's from the Lancet.com, and if you follow me on Facebook, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because I've been blasting it out. In December of 2019, Wuhan, Hubei province of China, became the center of an outbreak of pneumonia of an unknown cause. Now, granted, this was published on January 24th, which raised intense attention not only with China but internationally. Chinese health authorities did an immediate investigation to characterize and control the disease, including isolation of people suspected to have the disease, close monitoring of their contacts, epidemiology and clinical data collection from the patients, and development of diagnostic and treatment procedures. By January the 7th, 2020, okay, so it's called COVID-19 because that's 2019. Came from last year. Keep that in mind. By January 7th, 2020, Chinese scientists had isolated. That means it came in, had issues. They start looking at the genomes, the RNA, and all that stuff. And they had isolated a novel coronavirus, COV, okay, from patients in Wuhan. Novel, in this case, doesn't mean a book. It means new. So it's new. It wasn't the old coronavirus they had. It was a new one. The genetic sequence of the 2019 novel coronavirus, it's 2019-N.ncov, if you care to know, enabled the rapid development of point-of-care real-time RT-PCR diagnostic tests specific for the 2019 NCOV, based on full genome sequence data on the global initiative of sharing all influenza data. Okay, so there is a group called the acronym is GISAID, and what they are is the Global Initiative on Sharing All Influenza Data. That way everybody can share the info when things like this go awry or there's a fear that something's popping off. So to think that, yes, could Wuhan have and still be fibbing their numbers? Absolutely. But they did admit that this was out there back in January. They gave the genome and the sequencing back in January. There is no excuse from any country to deny that they knew. None. The data was there. They were given the data. I'm reading it to you. Okay, do you hear it? Are the bells ringing? Like, you get it, right? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm angry. Okay, I'm angry. All right. So 9 exported cases of 2019 NCOV infection have been reported in Thailand, Japan, Korea, USA, Vietnam, and Singapore to date, and further dissemination through air travel is likely. Now, I have to say, that I have read on people's opinions that this report was admitting that it was airborne. I didn't get that. I got that they said air travel. Now, could they have meant, since they mentioned all these different countries, that they meant that this is going to spread due to air travel? Or did they mean that they were admitting it was aerosolized? Let that sink in. Either way, that should have sent the alarm bells off. That should have had that red button going, wah, 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 right? At least should have started it. Okay. Okay. As of January 23rd, 2020, confirmed cases were consecutively reported in 32 provinces, municipalities, and special administrative regions in China, including Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. These cases detected outside Wuhan, together with the detection of infection in at least one household cluster, reported by Jasper Fukwoo Chan and colleagues. The Lancet and the recently documented infections in healthcare workers caring for patients with 2019 COV indicate human-to-human transmission and thus the risk of much wider spread of disease. As of January 23rd, 2020, a total of 835 cases with laboratory-confirmed 2019 nCoV infection have been detected in China, of whom 25 have died and 93% remain in hospital. This is what was reported, folks, to everybody on January 24th. And so, just to be clear, they give you a nice little graph that shows December 30th, 2019, that's when the clusters popped out. On January 1st, on January 1st, now catch this, the clusters popped out on December 30th. That's when they were already having people coming sick, and then they were starting to tie it together. January 1st, the Hunan seafood wholesale market was closed. So they thought, it could be that, because I think they started linking that the people either lived around there, had gone there, whatever the story is. This Hunan seafood market, I do believe, is about 10 miles from their big old lab, their bioweapons lab there. That's another story. Okay, January 7th, the novel coronavirus was isolated, the genome was isolated. January 11th, the first fatality was reported. January 13th, the first case in Thailand was reported. January 12th, that's your date. That's your date, that's your, I don't know what you want to call it, a Pearl Harbor date, or whatever date you want to put, as where you can no longer say, any other country can say they didn't know. January 12th, named as COVID-219 nCoV, the whole genome sequence was shared with the World Health Organization. There it is. So if anyone wants to claim a date of knowledge, that's January 12th. That's it. That's the facts, Jack. They've got the studies all attached. They got all the stuff all attached. Okay. So January 16th, the first case in Japan was reported. January 19th, first case in Korea was reported, yada, 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 yada. By January 24th, you had the 835 reported in China, 549 were from Hubei, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's a timeline. They even have a larger image and a high-res image and all kinds of stuff. And if you read this Lancet article, it goes into all kinds of stuff. It talks about things that came out so much later, that the English were later scrabbling around with their data once they got their population, and everybody starts crunching data. The Japanese get their sick and they start crunching the data, and then the English get their sick and they crunch the data, and the Chinese have already put some of their data out, but they don't really trust it because they're not honest with their death statistics. And they start telling you stuff that are coming out later about, I'm going to summarize, the fact that not all of them, a lot of the patients lose their sense of smell, their sense of taste, and their sense of smell. They get this eye pain, really bad eye pain behind the back, like the backs of their eyes. This is all in this report, guys. And I think part of the reason why is we don't trust other countries. Okay? But if you have any interest in looking at this, I'm not going to belabor it, but it's a great study. It's got all the good science in it, and it talks about the percentages of people at that time, because this was again it was reported on January, that talked about people with hypertension are a greater risk. They always say that immunocompromised are the most susceptible to this, and that is inaccurate. Actually, if you have cancer, yes, you are going to be more susceptible, but they're finding through science that the people who have hypertension it's like a multiplier. If you're obese, you have hypertension, you have heart disease, those are the multipliers more than things like having cancer treatments, undergoing chemo. Isn't that the opposite of what they've been telling you? Why? Okay. So I've told you what I think about that. Let's talk about this virus in the room. There's some things I'm going to talk about, but I know I will get the video yanked. And so I don't want to get the video yanked. And so in order to not get the video yanked and give you actual data, I want to be able to tell you things that will help you and not to scare you, because at this point, again, finger pointing is only going to get us so far. I think that trusting science is important. And I think to round this one out without getting into the stuff that'll get my video pulled, even though it won't be a conspiracy, it'll be conspiracy fact. I'm going to tell you this. I told you before that they were lying to us. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Masks work, gloves work. They don't work in lieu of you not taking the other precautions, meaning washing your hands and keeping the social distancing. But they absolutely work. And I think down deep in y'all's hearts, you know it works. You know it works. And you knew when they told us a couple months ago that you didn't need to use them, that like it was almost counterintuitive. You knew it was a lie, didn't you? Like down deep in your heart, didn't you know?